is the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, bringing you this week's Cognizant Classic in the Palm Beaches. Show's brought to you by DraftKings, as always. We thank them for their sponsorship of this wonderful, wonderful show, which is crushing right now. We appreciate every single one of you that is watching and listening to the show. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. You guys have been rock stars. We are crushing numbers big time because we've got the best co-host in the business sitting in his brown chair, Kenny Kim. How are you, Kenny?
Good, man. Trying to get everything situated. I just pressed the button on my computer and everything went blank, so that's not great. Not the best way to start the show, but it was a pretty good week. Bridgman made it a little bit more exciting. I didn't have him, but we'll talk about Bridgman and his limp to victory as we go on in the show.
Sometimes blanks work, sometimes blanks are bad, Kenny, but, you got to shoot your shot as long as they're not blanks. But anyway, show's brought to you by DraftKings. Really appreciate the sponsors there. Use code FGD when signing up. We've got all sorts of fantastic things. The placement markets are typically the best numbers out there. I do a lot of that, so I'm not just saying that. It is what is the truth. So I do most of my betting over there on DraftKings. Use code FGD. We'd really appreciate you guys supporting us so we can support them so they can support us. Big friendly circle, Kenny. A nice old... I almost said something really random that I shouldn't have at the beginning of the show. So first 5 minutes, we saved that one out there. Fun week at the Cog. No, that's coming up. Genesis, Bridge, Min, won that bad boy. Had Rory McIlroy to win this damn thing. Once again, just couldn't quite bring it home. But Aldrich, Kenny, I'm starting to find my groove. High-end placement bets for top fives are like 55 to 1. Aldrich came through, baby. He was my Sports Illustrated write-up for a long shot, 55 to 1 top five. Love that. Should have bet a little more on him. Didn't hit any of the other placements somehow, and we kind of just lost a smidgen. So we're down 6.7 on the season. Just one outright would take care of all of that for us. You had a fantastic week. We had a follower of the show, a subscriber of the show, Sam King, take down $125,000. We'll be chatting about that a little bit later. There's a lot to be chatting about, Kenny Kim. How was your week last week?
Yeah, let's talk about the Genesis first. Yes, I did have a good week. We will go into that, but let's go ahead and talk about Bridgman. I'm sort of pissed that I didn't bet him, right? Because, it looked like he was getting there, but like his fiasco at the end of last week, right, sort of turned me off a little bit, right? I was like, man, just to do that, and how is he going to react? But, the guy is coming in with like 4 or 5 top 20s in a row. He made the damn Tour Championship last year. Right. So, the guy is not a nobody. All right. I definitely should have thought of him more. I had him in my cash line, which is good. But I had him in, I made 4 lineups last week instead of 3. I think I'm going to go with 4 now. But especially after how much I won this past week. I think I'm going to go with 4. But I had him in there. He did what he needed to do. Right. In the front 9, it looked like he was there, but then at the back of the front 9, last couple rolls, you sort of saw a little bit of shakiness from him, right? With the bogey, I think on 7 or 8, coming in and then parring the par 5s, stuff like that. And then, then it got tight towards the end. I had a couple of bogeys. Kitayama was out there. Going 62, going ham. Adam Scott, who was also in my cash lineup. He went out there. He went ham as well to try and catch up. And then Rory, of course, was playing good golf until he got to the greens. He just couldn't make a putt. I think, and also the craziest stat was he birdied, I think, a 12, which is a par 4, either 12 or 13 on Sunday. That was his first birdie on a par 4 since Thursday.
Rory.
So his birdie on his first birdie on the back 9 on Sunday, I think it was on 12. I think 11's the par 5. I think 12 is a par 4. He birdied the par 4 12, and that was his first birdie on a par 4 since Thursday afternoon.
And 12 is like one of the hardest holes on the golf course as well.
I know.
You idiot.
Then his ass went out there at 18 and drained like a 70-foot putt.
God damn it.
18 feet of break, right? Right? And it drains it to get the 16 just to sort of put the needle in the back of the people that bet him. Of course, you got to talk about Scottie. did not get the top 10, which sucked because I tailed Pat. Pat put out a bet earlier, which was Gino Thitical to win after the first round, where she was the first round leader, and a Scottie top 10 when he was in last place, right? Going in the Friday, or going, as of 10 holes that he's played on Thursday. So I got that. It was still only 16-1. that parlay. It was still only 16-1. So I got Thitical. Thitical won in her hometown, I guess in Thailand, right?
That's awesome.
So good for her. It's got to be a good win. Feel good. First time she's won in front of her mother, right? It's always got to be like a special moment for a golfer to win in front of your parents for the first time on tour. But anyways, she hit. And then, Scottie's going down there and looking great. And then on 18, like he's in 8th place. And I know that people are going to jump in front of him. I need a birdie. Like, I need this birdie on 18 to guarantee that he gets that top 10, and he leaves it half an inch short, right in the heart, right on 18. So I put 1 unit on that. For me, 1 unit, $50. It would only me, $800. I didn't win anything betting, except I did tail Pat on Saturday. Again, make sure you follow Pat Mayo, okay, at the PME.
Who's Pat Mayo?
Oh yeah, he'll come up with these live bets with like a lot of fucking like ammunition to why he's making the bet. And so he did this whole thing about 10 and like where the pin location was on 10 and how that pin location fared in previous iterations of the event and how many birdies were made. And so the books had it wrong, basically. So it was my first ladder bet ever. Basically, I don't do ladder bets. I don't really do props, but like motherfucker convinced me. He convinced me, Pat. He convinced me. And so I did over 18.5, over 19.5, over 20.5, over 21.5, over 22.5, over 23.5 birdies on 10. And that's with half the field cut with the cut. So it's only 51 golfers. Everyone hit except the 24. There were 23.5. So all of them hit. I won a couple of $100 on that. It's like $250 on that. So that was nice. But didn't hit any outrights. Didn't hit any each ways. Really shitty betting week. But DFS, we did pretty fucking good. In the $55 up and down, I finished 6th for a cool $2,000. I needed a couple of things. I think the best I could have been was like 5th. Unless like Adam Scott, if Adam Scott won, that would have been the only way I would have won the event. I needed Adam Scott to win, and he got pretty fucking close. So I got 6th place. I think I had 4 guys in the top 7 in that lineup. I talked about almost all. I think the only person that I did not speak about in that lineup last week. So it was Rory, Knapp, Oberg, Scott, Cootie was the Hustler Player of the Week, and Ryan Fox. Ryan Fox is somebody I didn't speak about. I sort of caught up with him later on in the week that's why I liked him. But yeah, so Rory was 2nd. Knapp was 6th.
Solo.
Scott was 4th. Cootie was 16th. Fox was 7th. So that was a nice $2,000 win. I also cashed in my other 2 lineups. I finished like 64th, I think, in the $100 single entry for $250. I think I finished like 50th in the Albatross for like another $50. That was actually my cash lineup. My cash lineup finished like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th in every single double up that I was in. I had my cash game cornerstones, which are good. They weren't like excellent, but again, sort of like last week, the other 2 guys, like last week I had the 2 runner-ups as my non-cash game cornerstone cash lineup. This week I had the winner, and I had 4th place. I had Adam Scott and Bridget, but I did give that out on the show last week, where I named my 4 cash game cornerstones, and I said, right now I got Adam Scott and I got Bridgman, and that's who I ended up with. And that lineup was, good enough to be top 50 in GPPs. So of course that crushed in cash. So I won like $2,900 total for the week in DFS, which was really, really solid. You throw in a little bit I won gambling. It was over a $3,000 week, 60 units, won. So I'm up for the year, overall.
Oh yes, dude. Let's go.
And but it's early. The thing about it is, in these types of situations, like I've said before, ever since I moved from playing the lottery ticket, and the funny thing is, I finished 89th. That one lineup in the $55 up and down finished 89th in the $5, which won me $100. So that's the difference between playing lottery GPPs and playing
Nice
higher
balance
dollar
payout,
amount,
single entries.
less entry GPPs. And now I'm a little bit bitter because if I put that $55 in a $100 single entry, I would have won $5,000. Right. So a little bitter, but I can't really complain too much about that. Right. But that just goes to show you, I won $2,000 in the $55 up and down. I won $100 in the $5 drive the green with the same exact line.
Same lineup.
Right. And so, if you have the means, it took me a while to do it. It was scary, right? Going from like 50 to 100 lineups a week, you just think the more lineups you make, the more easier it is to win. But that's not necessarily the case, because what happens when you make 100, 150 lineups is you start adding players that you probably wouldn't add, right? Because you don't want 30% of a guy at, 30 lineups of a guy at like $7,100, right? That scares you when you do that, when you're going through all your ownerships and you're making your lineup generator and stuff like that. And you notice, oh my God, $7,100, $7,200 Tom Kim is 35% owned this week in my personal lineups. I have him in 35 of 100 lineups. I don't want that. So then you start trying to find guys around him, which you wouldn't normally play. Like they weren't on your list, right? And you start adding these guys, and if you have the discipline to do 100 to 150 lineups and keep your player pool extremely tight, but then, that would be the one way I would suggest doing it. Like I went between like 28 and 35 golfers a week when I did like 50 to 100 lineups, right? Last week I did 14. I rostered 14 golfers last week in 4 lineups. So doing this, first off, you're competing against less people, right? In the $100 single entry, it was like 2,500 people I was against. Same with the $55 up and down. It was like, 2,500 people. That's it. Not like 57,000, right? Right. First off, that makes it a lot easier, right? And then of course, the higher money, you're getting more in return just for min cash, now what it does is when you're going through your lineup process is that it keeps you from, it makes your core tight. I got 14 golfers in the 4 lineups that I made. And literally I liked all those guys. 13 out of the 14 made the cut. The funny thing is, of course, 21 golfers missed the cut in a 72-man field, which is pretty shocking. It was like almost like a legit cut. There was like a lot of guys that missed the cut. And so having 13 or 14 that made the cut, 3 of my 4 lineups were a 6 of 6. The only lineup I didn't cash was the $33. And the fucked up thing is I had Rory and Bridgman in that lineup. Right? I had Rory and Bridgman in that lineup, but I had Hoagie missed the cut, and I had the other guy suck ass. And it just missed. It was like right on the edge. And that was the only lineup that I didn't cash out of like the 15 that I put in, including cash. So that's the one thing I'll say about when it comes to DFS. It's a hard transition to go from MME to narrowing your player pool and only doing 3 or 4 lineups. Here's the thing. You're going to lose. Like, you're not even going to have a sweat like 80% of the weeks, right? You just have to deal with that. But if you can get a sweat like 6, 7 times a year, hit 1, maybe 2, right? That's what you're looking for, right? Because you have such a better chance of winning in those sweats. Because again, you're competing against less people.
Yeah. And the payout structure, in some single entries, it's not as balanced as you think. So don't just blindly click single entries, because some of them pay out like GPP, like multi-entry GPPs, where you're not getting 10% off first for 10th. That's typically what most single entries provide, right, Kenny? You're getting, if $1,000 is paid to first, you're getting $100
at 8th place, but you were still getting $1,000 all the way up to 10th in the $55 and the $100 single entry.
Yeah. So just be sure that you're making the right decisions there, because when you hit the semi nuts, you want to get rewarded for that still. Because those big ones, it's like you got to take it down in order to get the majority of the payout there. So great stuff, Kenny.
I'll let you know. I started this last February, so in 12 months, it's probably been like 40 events, right? Like around 40 events. I've had a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 8th, 6th, and a 12th. So 7 sweats I've had in like 40 events that I've had, and I've had like 25ths, 28ths, and stuff like that. But like 6, 7 top 10s, in GPPs, you're gonna do okay. In that if you're going in that route, you just gotta grin and bear it through the tough times, because there's gonna be weeks where you're not even close.
Yeah. Got to have a good bankroll. You can't pretend like you've got all your DFS money just riding on this week, and if you don't get anything back, you can't carry on. You got to be able to survive a bit of a drought.
That's why you play double ups, and that's why you play 50-50s.
Amen.
Right? I'm putting in like 390, right? And I think I'm 390, and it's like 220 in GPPs and 170 in double ups and 50-50. And so, and I do one lineup for all of those double ups. That's my cash game cornerstone plus the 2. That's the only lineup I use for that. So when you do that, and you win, hopefully you win like well more like 60% of the time, you're making basically your money back for the week.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, so making sure that you take advantage of just even decent results is the way to go, baby. But let's chat about some not so decent results and talk about exceptional results from our boy, Sam McKinney. Sam Bulldogs 1412 is his DraftKings username, and he took down 125,000. I think he had the same exact lineup in 2 different contests there for 100K and 25K. It was a Xander, a Cantley, a Fitzpatrick, Adam Scott, Shane Lowry, and Jacob Bridgman. A lot of the names that Kenny was chatting about. And, not a lot of those guys were inside the top 20. Cantley, Fitz, and Lowry were outside the top 20, and he still took down 100K shipper, baby. So you don't need the absolute nuts. You just need a couple high-end guys to really take care of business. The Scott and the Bridgman really helped him get across the line there. So it's Adam Scott being less than 5% owned, Kenny, was a major leverage part for him there, and finishing solo 4th that would have been even better if Rory missed that part, because I think he would have been tied 3rd with Rory instead of 4th on his own.
Yeah. That would, yes, I think you are correct. Oh, who was his top guy? Highest price?
His highest price guy was Xander.
Xander played well.
Imagine. Yeah, he played great.
3 of those guys were in my cash line. Fitzy,
Exactly.
Bridgman, and Scott.
When we saw that he'd won it, I automatically assumed there was Aldrich involved as well. But I think Adam and Aldrich were pretty much interchangeable at their price, I think. So we'll see. I bet Tommy Fleetwood against Adam Scott in round 4, because Tommy Fleetwood entering the week over the last 12 months, 8 top 10s, Adam Scott, 0. And Adam Scott just went nuclear. He had the round of the day on Sunday. So tough scenes, but some man's misfortune is the other man's fortune. You know how it goes. So congrats to you, old Sam, and good week for you there, Kenny. Shout out to everyone in the comments. Shout out to everyone that's following the show. Sometimes we give you the juice, and we really appreciate all of you guys that are following. Make sure that you are using code FGD when signing up at DraftKings, because that's what we do over here on Fantasy Golf Degenerates. Anything else, Kenny? Gino Thittercool.
Did you watch the hockey game last night?
I did.
Yesterday morning. What an incredible game. The Olympics are amazing. I'm so sad they're over. Right? What watching the Olympics, like especially like the figure skating, the women's figure skating and the men's hockey, like what we do in our little niche of gambling and stuff like that, like it affects how we watch sports, right? Like I forget sometimes, like, just to watch for the love of the game, right? It's hard to like watch sports. Like the only thing I do now to watch for like the love of the game is like my local teams, like the Wizards, the Capitals, the Nats, and the Commanders, and they all suck so bad, right? That it's horrible. It's horrible, right? And so like you sort of lose that luster, right? Everything else is sort of gambling related. Like I remember watching golf when I was a kid, and I would just be so enamored and into it without a dollar into it. And doing this for so long, it sort of skewed how I watch golf, right? I can't even name who I think my favorite player would be right now. It would be whoever's won me the most fucking money here recently, probably, right? I mean, that's basically how when you're in this gambling space, that's how your mind sort of changes, right? And what that hockey game did for me, just being able to watch something just for the love of the game, to watch the best in the world compete at such a high level. It was so much fun to watch. Like I forgot that sports can make you feel like that, right? Right? Sometimes we just get so caught up in the gambling aspect, in the fantasy aspect, in the money-making aspect of sports, that we forget the joy of sports. Like just being able to watch and just root for your team and to go through all the wild swings of emotions. In a game.
It was nice too,
where you don't have a single dollar, right? You don't have a single dollar on this, but the wild swings, and you're screaming and you're yelling, and I missed it so much. It just brought that back, and like that feeling of like how it used to be when I was a kid, right? And to watch sports. I don't really know how to change it. I don't think it's possible with what we do, right? You know what I'm saying? And like, you can respect, amazing feats of golf like the Anthony Kim shit that we saw a couple of weeks ago. I think that's why it affected me so much, because again, I had no money on it. It was just for the love of the game, right? And to be able to watch sports for the love of the game, I wish I could go back to that again. I think it's, for golf, for the most part, it's too late, right? I mean, doing this for 11, 12 years, doing this show and gambling and betting, it sort of changed the way that I watch golf, and it sucks. And, I'm sort of sad about it, but it is what it is.
It was nice to watch the hockey game without bombardment of FanDuel ads as well, too. Constant.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Stuff.
I didn't really care. Whatever. I mean, it's America. You gotta make money. That's just the way
pay the bills, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get what I'm saying.
But
that doesn't.
That game. I'm a South African.
Guys played like they putting everything on the line, and the problem with sports nowadays is outside of a couple of events, you don't see that, right? You see guys in the NBA taking rests, right? Like off days. Baseball is not what it used to be. Football, the product is, everyone watches, but the product, I don't know, it just doesn't seem as good as it used to be, with all these rules and not that much hitting and stuff like that. It seems like the leagues themselves are partially to blame about this. But then again, once you get to the playoffs, Game 7 Stanley Cup, Game 7 of hockey, you see that feeling again. But I will say,
patriotism.
Yeah,
it's your country. It's who you would go to war for, literally. they are playing for you on ice. The guy scoring the goal has got 1.25 teeth missing. That happened that game. But he's just out there cheesing with, you can see the back of his throat. Guy didn't have to open his mouth to sip a drink all night. He just freaking straw right through the lips. And it was passion, man. Passion. And then the Johnny Guerra whole situation.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so like the just goosies, man. Just thinking, I'm not even, got a African-American child that's as white as shit, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to get as jacked up for a game like that, even though Mike is a Canadian, Kenny, you're an American. So I was sitting in between the aisles, but I could just appreciate the actual sport,
Y'all fucking crashed the fuck out, dog. What happened? Y'all, I mean, like, some of this I seen the Canadians posting with some wild shit.
Nobody wanted to see 3-on-3 to decide a medal. That's why.
Guys. Huh?
Nobody wanted to see 3-on-3 to decide a medal, is what it was.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just the way it is. So what?
It is. Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's why people were pissed.
Like, and you had the 3 best players in the world on the ice at the time where you gave up the goal, right? I mean, like, I don't understand what you guys are complaining at. It was hilarious. So, like, I put out this shit. It was sort of, it was sort of rage bait because I saw like Canadians crashing out, right? And so I put this post on X about how it was it was a huge choke job by the Canadians, which it sort of was, but it sort of wasn't because Hellebuck just stood on his head. So I've been on the other end of that before as a Capitals fan, where a goalie just goes fucking insane, you lose. It happens, right? Yeah. But I was sort of pushing the envelope a little there with the Canadians, and I got this one guy to reply, Canadian guy. It was like the most magnificent crash out I think I've ever seen in my life. Like the first thing he started talking about was like he went from in back-to-back tweets. He started talking shit about America because ice and how he was anti-ice and like how we have to like have our papers with us, like walking around. The very next tweet, he called me a zipperhead, right? Which is of course a racist term for an Asian, right? Like,
never heard that in my life.
Racism to pure racism in back-to-back tweets. It was spectacular. Like I'd never seen anything like that before. Like online, like a guy going like the dude went and he just kept on going, and like black people, like black Americans started like talking to him and why he was telling them to go pick cotton.
Oh Jesus!
Like I thought y'all were nice. I thought y'all were friendly.
Yeah, but there's people from Alberta that are not friendly.
Okay,
like, all out
so
west
it's a specific
is
sector.
Yeah,
it's a specific sector of people.
Definitely.
I understand. But yeah, going back to the point of this, I missed that. I mean, the girl with the freaking weird beehive hair, the bumblebee hair,
Alyssa Liu.
Americans, Alyssa Liu, right? On Friday, like her story is incredible, and like you could tell like how much fun she was having, like on the ice, like it was just so infectious. Like just watching it, like I'm not a figure skating. I watch every Olympics, right? But like I never watch anything else. But like I was enthralled by her performance just because of like the joy and the passion, that she showed playing her sport, similar to what the guys on the hockey team did, both sides, right? You could tell they were playing out there. Thomas was out there killing people in the first couple of periods, right? Yeah. They're out there just murdering dudes, right? I was like, God damn, this is how it feels to be on the other side of Tom Wilson, me as a Caps fan. Right? I was like, oh shit, he's just destroying people out there. This is no good, right? No good. I get it now. Everybody else in the NHL, I get it. But like just to watch that, and then I just wish there was more of that. And I didn't gamble. Like, it's been fun and it's led me to do fun stuff like this and stuff like that. But I guess the one thing I'll keep is I'm going to continue not gambling on my teams because that keeps it pure for the Commanders, for the Wizards, for the Caps. I mean, if I go to a game, I bet, that's when I do it. And the Nats, you know what I'm saying?
That's why I couldn't bet the Jays when they were in the World Series. I couldn't do it. I just like, nope, I have to take all that emotion out of it all.
Yeah.
There's a thing called an emotional hedge. You bet against your team
I've done
in the
that.
biggest moments.
I've done that to
Like,
the Commanders when they were really bad. Like I was crushing it.
Yeah.
Just winning every week. Because they're so bad.
I'm a
Because
Jets fan.
Yeah.
So we are familiar. We are very familiar with this stuff. But it's crazy, Kenny, and pressure. Like Alyssa, zero pressure on her shoulders, and the commentator was even mentioning
there was like 10 tons of pressure, but she didn't show it. She didn't feel it.
right, or at least but she's like, her relaxation allowed her to execute better than anyone else because she could get higher jumps in and everything like that, and her body was like free.
Total opposite to the American guy, Ilya, who's
Ilya,
actually from right down the street. Like he trains like 10 miles from me.
Skates by you every day.
And he trains like 10 miles from me. The pressure got to him. It overwhelmed him. Right.
He fell twice in the same run.
Oh, and he admitted it.
Yeah.
It was really cool. He was like, dude, I didn't understand how much pressure this is going to be. Like, how could you? You've never been to the Olympics before. You've never been the overwhelming favorite to win the gold. Like, how would you even prepare for something like that? Right. And I do expect him to come back next time and get the gold. I do expect that. Now, correlating this to golf, the events that we see that have this type of joy, this type of passion, is the Ryder Cup. And that is why the Ryder Cup is the premier event in golf over the majors, over the players, right? There is no single event that's bigger, in my opinion, in golf than the Ryder Cup. And they need to continue to keep making it as pure as possible when it comes to competition, stuff like that. And that's the one time a year when it comes to golf where you have that feeling. So at least golf
one time every 2 years, Kenny. And I think that's also something that's really important, is that absence makes the heart grow fonder, and too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Everything in moderation, including moderation itself. So you got to make sure that it would be so sick to have the Olympics every 2 years, and you have the summer, the winter, the summer, the winter. But the anticipation, the build up, the being in the moment, just consume the stuff, because it only happens once every 4 years. And there was one guy that did the snowboarding from America that would have had another medal, but in his post he said, I would have medaled for the 4th Olympics in a row, but it wouldn't have been gold if I did my normal run. So he shot for like a trick that's never been done before. He's only landed it 6 times ever. And he came down so hard on his hip on the side of the half pipe, man. Like, when you realize like everything just goes like Lindsey Vonn type stuff. But Buddy got up, walked his ass off, and stood right behind the guy that eventually, his teammate, they won the gold, So sitting there because his hip was probably just melted away, still hanging out on the half pipe. But
did you hear
people
about
put their
Lindsey
shit
Vonn?
on the line, man?
About her leg? That they were thinking about amputation.
Yeah,
they almost
lose it. Yeah. Yep. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And
athletes
is that the latest, or
these athletes are another stratosphere from the athletes that we see on a daily basis.
Yeah, dude. And we're all human at the end of they superhumans doing human things with human bodies. And, it's the mind that's getting them across the line. And sometimes the body can't cash the checks that the mind's writing. And it's what makes them the best, And I think at the moment, chatting about this with Eric last night on my Back Nine Bet show with Scottie, Kenny, and his mind seems, we were speculating, like, is Meredith pregnant? Is he injured? Is he getting speed training going? Because Scottie's mentals are like gone, especially when he's on Thursday. Like, is he locked into like other family duties and stuff heading into the week? It's the most fascinating thing, what's happening with him, because it's all mental, it seems like, because obviously he finds his groove. Granted, he's not hitting his irons well at all right now, but he still finished 12th after being DFL. Scottie Scheffler, DFL after like a day's play.
Yeah, well, him and Kiyama tied for the best score Friday through Sunday.
Yeah. So crazy stuff, man. Crazy. We are too blessed with all of these goats running around us. The pasture is full of amazing people doing amazing things all around the world in different areas of sports. So that was fun. Do in Thailand, it's that is similar, Kenny, to you're doing it for your country. Everyone in golf wants to win. Rory won the Slam, the major Slam, won the Masters in 2025, and then went and won the Irish Open. I don't know if he had done that before or not, but that was easily his second biggest achievement of the year. And he'd won at Pebble, and he'd won the Players and things like that. I think he would have said ahead of the Players, winning the Irish Open as an Irishman would have been it, So to go and do that in your home country, Gino took care of business, and Chizzy was coming after her, man. Those chicks were dialed in. I love watching female golf because it makes you realize how egotistical and full of just testosterone we are when we're on the golf course, trying to just hit it way too hard. And then you see these boo-boos just going out there and just throwing delicate little darts,
You get old, you lose that. I'm just trying to hit the fucking fairway. I've gone 80% on my swing. Oh shit! Last year I changed my swing, and somebody I was playing with said I had a really smooth swing, and I blushed like a fucking schoolgirl. It was, what I'm saying? It was like the best compliment I ever had in my life. I've definitely cut back on my swing speed just to try and find more fairways. Instead of trying to hit it, 260, 270, I'm hitting it 240, off the tee, which is, it's fine. It's not like I'm playing from the pro tees, whites or the blues is usually where I'm at. So it's fine. And my long iron play is improved tremendously. So I can play, from the blues, no problem. I actually sometimes feel more comfortable with my hybrids in my hand than I do a wedge.
I was going to say, the shot that if you asked me to think of a shot that you've hit, it was that 7-wood on the par 3
hybrid,
where you just scorched like a ropey high draw from like 210,
I got rid of the draw since then. So
okay.
I've adjusted my swing even more. Instead of going, a little bit in out, I'm going a little bit more out to in the back swing. And so I've gotten the goal is to get rid of the draw and the hooks, because those misses are substantially worse,
Nasty.
than a slice.
But until you start getting like me, and then you just blow that right slice like a million miles away.
Sometimes I leave the club face a little bit too open, and that's when I do the pushing. It goes like Oberg did when he went on. I forget what hole. I think the first day he missed the fairway by like 125 yards, by like a football field. He missed the fairway. I've done that. Yes.
And he just stood there in shock.
Sort of,
like
little noise. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
He's steadily improving. Another guy that we noticed, Tom Kim, numbers wise, tee to green. I mean, he's steadily moving on up. So there's been some guys who we saw a little bit of improvement from the beginning of the year this past week.
Yeah, it's fun. And we've gone from 2 signature events to one of the worst fields that you'll see in golf in the regular season this week, which is, you are a fantasy golf degenerate, you are tuning in for these guys because we've got them for you. And it doesn't matter. We are objectively viewing these people. We want to win money. We've spoken about this. We don't watch golf for fun. I had to turn the radio off on the way back from Iowa City because I was about to just wreck the car every time I heard Rory get over a putt. So started listening to an audiobook all the way back, and then he holds out from bunkers and things. So it is what it is. But we have got this for you, boys and girls. We are ready to cook at the Cognizant Classic. Kenny Kim, tell us what on earth is going on around PGA National this week.
PGA Tour moves to Palm Beach this week for the beginning of the Florida Swing PGA Nationals Championship course. We'll host the Cognizant Classic for I think the 20th time. I think this might be the 20th time. It's weird calling this event the Cognizant Classic, being the Honda, but the Cog sort of, it's all right. It's all right.
In our PGA Baseball channel, we called it Hog the Cog because this is like the final event of the 7 tournament stretch for the first contest section, and it's got nobody in it. Trying to get 6 people is impossible. So we were hogging the cogging, baby.
Best ball. I had one single bullet. Best ball lineup. I figured I had to, right? Just because I know you're so invested. that I had to make one single bullet. I'm sorry, I didn't look at any of your research. I didn't do any research. I just clicked names that I thought would be good. Right now, I'm in first place. I'm in first place in my little group. I'm 140 points up. I got like 3,300 points. And I think I have 5 guys playing this week.
That's huge.
Which is not bad. I have 5 guys playing this week, so I think I should be able to make it to the next round. But anyways, let's go ahead and keep going. Again, the Honda Classic, best known for the bear trap. 15, 16, 17, the 3 most difficult holes. One of the most difficult 3-hole stretches on PGA Tour. And another one was 7 through 9, 5 through 7. Almost just as difficult.
They call it the Cub Trap?
The Cub Trap?
Or something like that, yeah.
Something like that. But, tough. Here now. There has been some changes. I think the 10th holes is now gone from like a 490-yard par 4 to a 530-yard par 5, which is, easily scoreable. It went from par 70 to par 71. We've seen it already happen the last couple of years where the scores have been better. But last year was a little bit of an aberration because there's like 0 win. It was like the easiest the course has ever played. The winning score was 19 under. The year before, winning score was 17. But I think there was only like a handful of golfers double-digit under par. I think we'll see something like that, especially if we see some wind Thursday and Friday, up to 20-mile-per-hour gusts as of now on Thursday and Friday. So I think it should be in line with like what we saw a couple of years ago. Winning score 15 to 18, around there. It's not going to go back to the times like where I went. I went to the DFS Open, what is in 2020, Sungjae won at -6. Right? We're not going to see that anymore just because of that extra par 5. But still not an easy course. And they've actually added length to a couple of holes this season. And I think that's in retaliation to the low scores that we saw last year. Now, the great thing about it is, as of now, Florida's been really dry. The course, at right now is pretty fast and firm. But we have rain in the forecast this week. Okay, so there is some rain in the forecast. We will see how much rain and how soft the conditions get. But of course, if it rains and it's soft, that does make the scoring a little bit easier. Let's see. What we've seen here a lot of the times over the years is, PGA National has been the place where chalk has come to die, right? Now, there's really no way to quantify what I just said, but just be wary and check the tee time splits very carefully for weather conditions, right? If you like the guy and he's going to be chalky and you really like him playing, but if you have like reservations and he's chalk, you just might as well X him out, right? I think that's just the easiest way to go, especially if you go into like that 7K, 8K range, like eating that chalk in this event, it's not the best idea. Now, am I going to eat some of that chalk? Probably, because I'm an idiot.
There will be someone chalky.
Yeah, I'm a chalk monster. That's just the way I am. I will say the one thing that has helped me when it comes to ownership and not being as chalky is, I don't read anybody's shit until after I do the show. Right? So all the information you're getting from me, for the most part, I do see Bamford's article. It's the one that I read, that I'll read every week before, but that's the only one. And I don't really tail his picks too often. But, once you read so much stuff about other people, you sort of get that in your mind. So what you get from me in this Monday show is just literally just me, what I'm thinking. And so that makes the hustler play of the week last week was good. We finished 16th, Cootie, but he was like top 15 owned. I was wrong about the ownership. That's going to happen. I am not the best owned guy, right? When it comes to it. And again, we're doing it on Mondays. And again, I'm not reading anybody else's stuff on Mondays. I don't really have an idea of what is chalk. I'm just basing it on guesses. So that's going to happen. But let's get back to the course. The champion now, just a few things. I think like 9 of the past 15 winners have finished 13th or better at PGA National in the previous year. 11 of the last 14, 11 of the last 12 of the last 15 winners have made the cut at PGA National at least once before they won. And then like half of the last 10 winners have had a top 10 in the West Coast or Hawaii leading up to it. The last couple have not, right? Since sort of this event has gone sort of downhill when it comes to strength of field, and a lot of that has to do with the signature events. This used to be the event where the majority of Europeans would come to begin their play on the PGA Tour, and so you've seen a lot of European success here at PGA National because of that, and also because of that, you saw better fields because you saw top European guys who hadn't played any event so far in America come out and play this event. That's gone now. So that really drains the strength of field for this event. Let's get to the course. The Champions course of PGA National, 7,200 yard par 71, 3 par 5s, 4 par 3s. The 4 par 3s are some of the most difficult holes on the course, and the 2 original par 5s are the 2 easiest holes on the course. The par 5 10s played pretty easy last year as well. Even though the course isn't significantly long, there are still 5 par 4s over 450 yards. The course plays even longer when you take into account that the average driving distance, average green and regulation percentage, and average driving accuracy here are well below the tour average. Definitely a less than driver course. Off the tee, golfers will see average size fairways with lots of trouble if they miss. Water, fairway bunkers, thick rough will be in play on almost every tee shot, but the rough has been down a little bit the last couple of years. There is water everywhere at PGA National. Over 1,000 balls in the water in the last 15 years or so at this event. With all the course's defenses off the tee, like I said, it will be a less than driver course. On approaches, golfers are going to see Bermuda grass greens that are above average in size when it comes to actual square feet. In reality, a lot of the greens are long from front to back, but extremely narrow in width, which makes hitting the greens very, very tough. Like 18 is a big one, right? It's a very, very long green that goes diagonally with water on the right and a stand on the left, but it's narrow with, a bunker on the left as well. So everyone tends to miss left, and hitting it on that green is very, very difficult because of how narrow it is, even though technically the square footage is very large because of the length of that green. Less than 60% of approach shots on this course actually hit the green. That's a very low number on tour. You're going to see a ton of approaches from 175 to 200, 150 to 175. Also, sand play could be important this week because there's a lot of holes that have like water on one side, like I just said, and a bunker on the other. Human nature. You're going to tuck it probably into the bunker instead of hitting it over into the water. The Bermuda greens, elevated contour, surrounded by bunkers, water hazards, and false fronts on almost every hole. The greens should be firm. We'll see with the rain. Stimming around 11.5. What are you looking for in golfers this week?
Kenny, I am looking for 6 boxes as usual. We are checking Byron's boxes here, and I'm going to share my screen with y'all. The first box this week is going to be easy scoring conditions. I think since they've overseeded this rough, we've seen this, like you mentioned, last 2 years, even with weaker fields, the scoring conditions have been substantially easier. And like you said, we're going to experience some rain potentially. That's going to be another reason, like we just saw at Riviera. A very difficult golf course got completely neutered by soft greens, So making sure that you can find guys that are good on easy scoring conditions. Brooks Koepka, one of the few guys that actually checks that box. He leads the field in easy scoring conditions at 2.3 strokes here. A couple names are going to show up here because they're on the Corn Ferry Tour and the DP World Tour. I have all of that information because it's relevant, but it's raw strokes. So DP and KFT, they're going to be the top guys there. So don't get like super freaked out when you see a lot of them here, but it still at least helps you see which ones of those guys are checking these boxes. So Brooksy,
So
Rasmus,
I'm going to speak my end real quick. I got a question.
what's up?
So
I'm listening.
let's say, I think, on the weekend, if the wind is down, I do see, and it's soft, the easy conditions. But then, on Thursday and Friday, you're going to have wind. Like with your model on your Patreon, can you shuffle it between, like windy conditions and easy conditions pretty easy? I'm sure you can, right?
I do showdown stuff. So after every round, I check the weather. I don't have too many bets because I'm waiting on the weather, because there could be a potential AM, PM wave on Thursday. And at this golf course, weather exponentially messes things up. So I can just change one or two formulas and all of a sudden, easy, medium, hard, whatever you're looking for, that'll show up right away. Emphasize when you start thinking easier, you're probably looking at more guys you're not necessarily looking at around the green play that much, because it's a 70% GRR rate average at this course over
Well,
the last 2 years.
was?
Yeah,
Last
they're hitting
year-
like 7 of every 10 greens. So
Yeah.
you're only
It was-
chipping.
Before the last 2 years, it was under 60%.
Yeah. So since
Now,
the overseed,
could these 2 years have just been an aberration, or do you think it's because of the overseeding, and do you think it's because of the lack of wind?
both, because
Both, right.
the last 2 years have been, obviously the overseed is going to be there. So that's easily, one of the easier things
So
about
was
the
it
course
not
now.
overseeded before?
I don't believe so. I know Billy Horschel was bitching and moaning about it last year, that he loves to chip out of Bermuda grass, which is grainy and difficult, and they've overseeded it now, and now it's taken the skill level of that specific surface out of the equation, So
So honestly, I didn't look
unfortunately-
into that. So you're right. I mean, maybe that does make the course play easier.
yeah, well, you're not going to be chunking chips. It doesn't make good chippers succeed here, because one, from the rough, you're hitting more greens anyway, and then when you do miss the greens, your lies are not sitting down in a nesty Bermuda grainy rough, So we'll see. I think after last week, we really learned how the weather conditions and the grass types interact with each other, because it was almost better to be in the rough, just mash it down as far as you could at Riv, and you could hold the green still, which is typically the biggest defense of Riviera, is hitting it in the rough. You can't hold the greens. So
Lots of longer hitters on that leaderboard.
exactly. So that's how we try and bet this stuff. And there are nuances that you have to kind of get in the groove with. So it's really important to understand
That's wild that the green and regulation percentage have jumped over 10% in the last 2 years. And I'm guessing that's when the overseeding has started.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it seems like we've had some, really dormant
Benign.
So it's been quite a combo there. So back to the boxes. Yeah, we have got 6 of them. It says 7. We're going with 6. Brooksy is number 1 for easy scoring conditions, which is a scoring average of -1.5 or easier per round. I don't use it for tournaments, because some tournaments might, like Kenny mentioned, some windy days, some no windy days. The course would play medium, but in fact, there were like 3 days that were playing easy and 1 day that was hard. So I take those specific rounds and find out who gains the most strokes in those situations. We've got Brooks, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, Johnny Kiefer, Neil Shipley, Chandler Blanchet, Kaden Nakajima, AJ Ewert, Adrian Demont Deschart, and Garrick Higo all gain 1.1 strokes or more on easy conditions. That is going to be my first box. I checked 20 of these guys. Drop them all in the Discord. You're seeing this column on the left-hand side here. There's color coding for you as, the spectrum of the rainbow shows up here. Red's bad. If you have pink and a green background, that's good stuff. It's 5 and 6 boxes. So we'll check that out shortly. But those are your easy scoring conditions. Then I have my micro model, which basically dives into this golf course, and I've tailored every single hole to this golf course. So the first hole, you're only hitting a drive that's 227 yards long. So you're not necessarily going to be hitting a full drive over there, which most models typically just put driving on there. So for this specific hole, it's telling you you're probably going to hit it this short. And then you got 132 as Shane Lowry into the green. What does he do from there? He hits 79% of his greens from that range based off of the green regulation on hole number 1 at this golf course. So it kind of tells you, is he going to be chipping? Not that much. As you can see, Shane Lowry, one of the better around the green players, but he's only 23rd in this field in strokes gained around the green, because he's he's the second best approach player this week. So he's going to be hitting a lot more greens, 7th in the field in GRR rate. So his good chipping isn't necessarily going to be as important this week. So this is what this model does, the micro model, TM, patent pending there. We are looking to kind of find how one golfer's specific traits filter onto this golf course and translate there. So that's basically what we're doing there. The guys that are the best in the micro model this week, based off of that, Shane Lowry, number 1. Nikolai Højgaard, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, Gary Woodland, Chris Ventura, Ryan Gerard, Michael Thorbjornsen, Haotong Lee, Keith Mitchell, and Mac Masner. Those are the micro model top 10 guys based for course fit on PGA National. Then we're going to be going to a quick little awards ceremony here, Kenny. We're going to go back to the trenders over here and take a look at strokes gained in 2026. This is basically going to be West Coast strokes gained because we've played 6 tournaments out west, one of them on Hawaii. Ryan Gerard leads the field in strokes gained in 2026 with 2.03. The next closest is Shane Lowry with 1.67. We've got Joel Damon, David Lipsky, Seamus Power, Andrew Putnam, Rasmus Højgaard, Chris Ventura, Haotong Lee, Nikolai Højgaard, and Will Zalatoris showing up here at the bottom of that situation in 2026. So I'm going to also then filter on the prorated strokes gain, which includes strokes gain from the last 12, the last 8, the last 4, and then 2026. And the more rounds you have in each bucket, the more they apply. So guys that have played a lot of golf in 2026, that prorated number is going to be higher and take that bucket into account a lot more than someone like Jordan Spieth, who's only played 10 rounds of golf basically this year, maybe 12, whatever. So looking at those guys, the best names in the field, Shane Lowry, Ryan Gerard, Nikolai Højgaard, Rasmus Højgaard, Christian Bezuidenhout, Willie Z, Thorbjørn Olesen, Max McGreevy, John Parry, and Mac Masner. Throw Haotong Lee in there just for some fun. Those are your guys with the best long-term, medium-term, short-term, and very short-term strokes gained over the last year. Then the next box, course history. This is kind of a sticky-ish venue still, although the chalk does go to die. People like Shane Lowry, he has not missed a cut at this golf course yet, Kenny Kim. So he's going to be number 1 in the model for strokes gained at PGA National. Ryan Gerard, 2nd. Chris Kirk, Daniel Berger, Sam Ryder, Billy Horschel, Aaron Wise, Adam Hadwin, Keith Mitchell, and Austin Eckroat round out the top 10 for us in strokes gained at this golf course. It's not a lot of colorful names here. The orange means they've only checked one box, and the majority of these guys is just getting course history for this box. They're not getting anything else, which means the game isn't necessarily in the greatest shape. They're just leaning on course history. So kind of taking a look at that is interesting. Then my next box I like to check is just who gives us a great chance to play good golf? Are you just a top 40 merchant, or do you actually show up and finish inside the top 10, top 5 every now and then? I'm taking the total finish rates for win, top 5, top 10, top 20, top 30, top 40, and made cuts, and adding them all up together. And the top 10 names for those are Shane Lowry, Chris Wrighton, Johnny Kiefer, Haotong Lee, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, Austin Smotherman, Chandler Blanchet, Jordan Smith, Aaron Rye, and S.H. Kim. A lot of KFT guys, a lot of DP World Tour guys, but those are the guys that were crushing on those tours. Obviously, their percentages are going to be a little higher than the guys that have played PGA Tour golf last year. I probably could get some weighting stuff in there, but it is what it is. And then finally, the Model Maniac rankings. Here are the top 10 guys in the model, which case basically uses those 5 other metrics I've just spoken to you about and incorporates them into an overall ranking. As you can see, the color coding over here it's beautiful because they've checked a lot of boxes. They're going to be a good model ranking. So Shane Lowry, Nikolai Højgaard. Yeah, Shane Lowry.
My bad,
Go ahead, Kenny.
I got 4 guys in your top 10 in my cash lineup.
You see, this is how you use this. These are going to be the chalky options or the solid options. The boxes have been checked. It shows you here. Shane Lowry, Nikolai Højgaard, Ryan Gerard, Rasmus Højgaard, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, Haotong Lee, Willie Z, Christian Bezuidenhout, Sami Välimäki, and Michael Thorbjornsen as the 10th guy at this venue. So that's basically that situation. And then we're going to go over to my betting tool that you can find in the Model Maniac Patreon. Use code COG26 for 50% off your first month of the Golf Sicko tier over there. This kind of tells you, okay, if you are betting to win $100 in all these different markets, top 20, top 5, and win, who has returned you the most money over the last 6 years at this golf course? No surprise here, Shane Lowry is the first 3 names in this field. By the way, if we take away in this field list, we get a whole bunch of better guys that have already been over here. And then you kind of see, okay, in this field, things start getting a little weird, because we've lost a lot of good course history guys because of the signature events. So Shane Lowry, shout out to him for showing back up here. He is returning you $290 over the last 6 years in the top 20 market at odds of -110, +170, -120, +130, basically in that even money range, which it kind of checks out. He checks all the boxes. He's a great course fit, and we're getting even money for a guy that's typically been playing the greatest golf on this golf course. Some other names in the betting markets. Lee Hodges, top 20. He's cashed that twice of the last 3 times. You could have got him at 4-1 in 2 of those instances. Gary Woodland, he's cashed a top 10 here, 2 of the last 4 starts at hefty numbers, 5-1, 7-1, those kind of things. Eric van Rooyen doing the same thing. He's 2 of the last 5. He's cashed the top 10. And then obviously your usual guy, Chris Kirk, top 10 market. Yeah, he's got 2 of the last 6. So that's kind of what I done. Use my tools to find who are the best bets this week to kind of go after. And I will just dive right into it, Kenny, because I actually don't have it pulled up. So you go ahead and tell us who you are looking for this week in the betting markets. There's no better way to get closer to the action than with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. Right now, our partners at DraftKings are giving new customers a shot to play free for their share of millions in prizes with their first deposit on the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. Simply download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and enter promo code FGD during sign-up to play free for your share of millions with your first deposit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most states. Restrictions apply. Terms, DraftKings.com. Minimum $5 deposit required. One single use, $3 ticket rewarded that expires in 14 days. Ends March 25th. See terms at DraftKings.com/promotions. Sponsored by DK.
Okay, so a little bit of betting strategy for the week. I only used 5.5 of my 7 units to bet. I'm saving the other 1.5 units for live betting. The reason why I'm going to do this is because of the field strength. It's shitty, right? So what you're going to get, usually in these future events and stuff, you got these guys live. They have name value that's automatically going to drive their prices low, right? Just because of the name of the golfer, just because of who it is, just because his name's Scottie, just because his name is, whatever. Even the guys in the mid tier, of the Siggy events, even those guys, their numbers are going to be lower than they probably should be just because of name value. There's not that much name value in this event, right? So when you're going to 5 numbers on Saturdays, a guy that's 3 or 4 strokes behind, he's not going to be 8-1, right? You know what I'm saying? Hey, right? He's not going to be 8-1 being 3 or 4 strokes behind, more than likely. You're going to get better numbers than you've seen live than we have the last few weeks. Actually, probably every week this year, because every field has been substantially stronger than what we are seeing this week. So I am saving 1.5 units for live betting this week.
I will be doing the same.
Yep.
Probably more units.
My first bet is going to be Nikolai Højgaard. I was lucky. We had a whole bunch of withdrawals. I made my top end bets on the shitter this morning at like 8:00. So I got really, really, really good numbers. I would still bet these guys probably with the 3 places, but again, it's a little tougher now. So my first bet is Nikolai Højgaard. I got 40-1 with 3 places. I think right now you can get him 30-1 with 3 places on the book that's open every day of the year. Going back to last season, he has 6 top 25s in his last 8 events, including a couple of top 5s. including last time he played. I think he finished 4th at the Waste Management. His numbers have been trending up for a while now. In his last 50 rounds, he's gained 0.85 strokes total. In his last 24, it jumps up to 1.55. In his last 8, it's jumped up to 2.26 strokes gained total to the field. Euros, like I said, have fared well in this, and he's played well here in the past. So I like Højgaard as my first, Nikolai Højgaard as my first bet. Next, it's going to be Brooks Koepka, 60-1 with 3 places. You're getting 33-1 now with 3 places. So I don't know if you want to do that. When I saw 60-1 for 3 places, I just clicked the number for Brooks.
Yeah.
If it was 33-1, I don't think I would have. But, he looked decent in his first 2 starts, especially with his ball striking. His main bugaboo, of course, was his putter. I think he's top 10 in the field in his last 8 rounds. Strokes gained tee to green, which is, of course, how many he's played on the PGA Tour so far. I think he's only played 6, actually. But he's top 10 in strokes gained tee to green in this field. I think he's like dead last in putting, right?
94th in this field.
Now, here's the thing. We're back on familiar Bermuda. Dude's a Floridian. He's used to Bermuda greens. He has over 100 recorded rounds on less than driver courses on tour. He is averaging over a stroke better than the field per round on less than driver courses. And this is a large sample. This is well over 100 rounds of less than driver play. And he is averaging over 1 stroke gained total per round on less than driver courses. And then from the model that you had earlier today, or earlier in the show, you saw that he's one of the best. If it does play easy, he's one of the best out there. You said on easy conditions courses. And if it gets tough, the dude can grind. So you sort of get like the best of everything right there with Koepka. Those are my only 2 3-place each way bets. The rest are 8 places. Next, it's going to be Christian Bezuidenhout, 30-1, 8 places. He comes in 4th in my model this week. In the last 24 rounds, he's top 25 in this field in tee to green, par 5 scoring, approach, and proximity from 150 to 200. He's also top 10 in the field in bogey avoidance, sand save percentage, strokes gained around the green, and putting in the last 24 rounds. Really, really good numbers. He's a numbers play. When it comes to weaker field events, I tend to have to rely on numbers more than just what I've seen. Like, these guys haven't been on featured groups, right?
Yep.
These guys aren't getting TV coverage during so a lot more numbers based for me in these shitty field events. Next, it's going to be Sami Valinaki, 50-1 with 8 places. Top 35 in the field in every stat I'm looking for except par 5 scoring and off the tee. But he did gain an average of a half stroke on the field in less than driver courses throughout his career. His iron game and short game very strong recently. Best putting surface is Bermuda. Next are a couple of big time long shots. It's going to be Andrew Putnam, 110-1 with 8 places. Runner-up finish at the start of the season this year at the Amex. Tee to green has been above average for the field in the last 24 rounds. Really good from 175 to 200, where a large majority of approaches are going to come from this week. Excellent short game. Last one. It's going to be Adam Hadwin at 140-1 with 8 places. Runner-up on the Korn Ferry Tour a few weeks ago. Top 10 here in the past. Has won in Florida before. At that number for a guy who has been on the tour for a decade, right? Who just lost his card. He's got a little bit of momentum, or he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder to get back to where he needs to be. Give me him at 140-1 with 8 places. So my 6 bets so far: Nicholas Højgaard, 40-1, 3 places. Koepka, 60-1, 3 places. Christian Bezuidenhout, 30-1, 8 places. Sami Valinaki, 50-1, 8 places. Putnam, 110-1, 8 places. Hadwin, 140-1, 8 places. The only one I would think twice about now betting, since the numbers have adjusted after all these guys, is Brooks. With his number getting cut in half with the 3-way, probably just it would be tough. Like even Højgaard only went from 40 to 30, right? Koepka went from 60 to 33. So he's the one that I was worried about.
I think when it comes to that, Kenny, odds change when information arrives. That's just basically all. And information can be money, sharp people coming in, hitting a number and just betting it down, handle, hold, all of that stuff, or people withdrawing from the field like we saw today. We had a mass exodus and odds change. So when you do see a signature event stretch of golf that's then preceded by a normie event, try and get those odds in early on a Monday. Or DraftKings has odds out on a Saturday afternoon, friends. So you can like do your research, figure out what kind of odds are out there already. Make sure you're using code FGD when signing up.
And if you want to go to a place that has an each way, you can look at those odds from DraftKings on Saturday and Sunday and have an idea already of who you want. And then you can go onto that book with the each way on Saturday morning early, like literally, like it's the first thing I do Monday morning is on the shitter. When I'm taking my morning, ritual.
Just recycling.
I'm looking at the numbers and I already know who I want to bet. And if the numbers are where I expect them to be, I'm heading.
Yeah, exactly. So make sure you guys are doing that because the odds have shifted significantly on a lot of these guys that we've seen, right? So I'm going to go and just double down with you on Andrew Putnam, Kenny Kim. I'm going to be laddering him. And it's another way to kind of get that each way exposure. You've gone with 8 places. Andrew Putnam at DraftKings is 160 to 1. If you just want to rock him straight outright for a top 5, he's 20 to 1 plus 250. Plus 2050. Then for the top 10, he's plus 900 basically. And then for a top 20, he's plus 370. So you are basically just putting down like a quarter of a unit to win 1 unit in each of those markets. I don't, kind of like you mentioned with your single entry stuff, Kenny Kim, how you don't want to put more people on your betting card or in your player pool than you should just because you have to. So when I'm betting now, I bet about like 1-ish units on outrights. But if I have 160 to 1, I'm betting 1/10 of a unit to win 16 units. If someone's less than 100, I'm betting to win 10 units. So I'm betting whatever I need to in order to get those 10 back. But if I'm going to put someone with such long odds on my card, there needs to be a reason. I need to be convicted. I don't want to be just chucking a whole bunch of 250 to 1 guys on there and just sprinkling in to make 10 units back. If I want to have them on my card, I need to be willing to lay 1/10 of my betting card out there on this guy. So I think Andrew Putnam makes a ton of sense for all the reasons you mentioned. He's playing great form at the Amex. He almost won that damn thing. And I love him on these putter intensive venues. If it goes easy, he's going to be hitting a lot of greens. He's not nullified by the lack of distance he has off the tee at a course like this. He finds fairways easily. I think he's a great short course specialist. So betting to win 1 unit in each market or 1/10 of a unit minimum bet, so for those ladders, we're basically going to be returning a roughly 20 units really, because it's 16 to 1. So I love an Andrew Putnam situation there. And then I'm going to be going to a man by the name of Chris Pet Detective Ventura, baby. 80 to 1, floating out on a river somewhere out there for you guys. They give you some fun each way options too. And if you take a look at what Chris Ventura has been up to, he's actually been sneaky good. He leads the field in strokes gained putting for me in my micro model. He used to be one of these guys that's like a completely crazy ball striker as well, but he is no longer that situation. He checks 3 boxes this week. His best scoring conditions are the easy scoring conditions. He gains 0.9 strokes on the field in those conditions. Number 1 in the scoring, number 5 in the micro model, and his strokes gained numbers over the last 12, 8, 4, and 2026, they keep getting better and better. He starts the year with last 12 being neutral, gains 0.1 strokes, and then in 2026 now he's gaining 1.1 strokes. So he's been playing some solid golf. He's a fantastic putter. You can get him 80 to 1 out there with some river floating places and run away with him, man. He's a really solid option in my opinion. And then my final name is Ryan Gerard, which we got at 27 to 1 this morning before this max. It was actually last night. I popped it in the Discord. So we'll be looking at Ryan Gerard over here. He's had fantastic course history. Look, if you are listening to this show if this is your first show of the week, I'm going to tell you some stuff, but you're going to hear him a lot. He's going to be a very, very popular bet with everyone that got in on him early. He finished 4th here in 2023 when he was still on the Corn Ferry Tour. He almost got his PGA Tour card just like that by almost winning this damn thing back then. Didn't quite happen for him. He's since had a much longer journey back to the PGA Tour, but we're going to take advantage of it this week. So 25th here last year. We don't see a finish worse than 45th. And those two bad finishes, which are 28th and 45th, are in signature events. Finished 28th at Riv last week, barely making the cut and then flying up the leaderboard. So he's someone that if you don't want to go in on him at this current price, which is probably in the teens right now, I think, wait for him a little bit to get to the weekend because he's like Stoltz. He's got the fastest final lap in the business, baby. His strokes gain numbers just get better round 1, round 2, round 3, and by round 4, he is firing on all cylinders. So he's a definite live ad opportunity for you guys that may have missed the number there. I think he's a fantastic option. Obviously got the 2nd at Mauritius, 2nd at the Sony, the 2nd at the Amex, and an 11th at the Farmers, and then kind of got stuck just outside the top 20 there when it went to signature events. But coming from those signature events, I think there's a confidence thing going on because didn't top 20, but he played against the best in the world. Now he's going to the Cognizant Classic. He's going to kick some ass. I think he feels like he's the alpha dog potentially. It's his to kind of lose. Maybe that pressure cooks him. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it gets him over the line. So I'll be looking at Ryan Gerard heftily over there. And then I have a couple more bets for you that don't include an outright. Shane Lowry, top 20, minus 106 at DraftKings. Ties paid in full. We just showed you Shane Lowry is the best bet you could have made at this golf course over the last 6 years. He's cashed that top 24 straight times. He's been playing solid golf this last little while. You take a look at his recent form, 24th at Genesis, 8th at Pebble, 26th at the Euro Dubai, 3rd at the Dubai Invitational. So in his last 4 starts across the world, he's finished 26th or better. Now we go into a golf course where Shane Lowry has finished 11th, 4th, 5th, 2nd, 36th, 21st, 49th, 53rd, all the way in 2016. Never missed a cut here at a golf course that sinks chalk. He may be the boy, or maybe he's the boy that gets chalked this week. So we'll have a chalk outline around Shane, or he's going to be chalking up a phenomenal situation here. But when it comes to betting Shane Lowry, we're also going to go for the top 5 market at plus 415 with a quarter unit there to kind of return 1. And I think just in case he kind of gets a little bit of upside, I don't trust him to get home. I wasn't going to bet him at 21-1 to win the tournament, but I do fancy him to contend this week at a top 5 number that's 4-1. So I'm looking at him in the top 20 market at minus 106 and a top 5 market at 4-1 basically over there on DraftKings. Ties paid in full. He's been a fantastic bet. He's returned you $290 in the top 20 market, $250 in the top 5 market. Those are the 2 best bets you could have made for him here. That concludes the bets for us this week over there on DraftKings, where I've placed most of them. Use code FGD, please. We're going to get to some DraftKings blood, sweat, and DFS tiers this week, Kenny Kim. And I can't say in the 10K range because the 2 guys that were in the 10K range made over 10K last week and decided, you know what? We don't have to play any golf because we played in a big old signature event and we have heavy pockets now. We played some okay golf and made a couple $100K. In the 9K range, Kenny Kim.
I combined like 6 million, so they're cool. And Scott, Bridgman.
Happy chappies.
We're good. But starting in this 9K range, I got Shane Lowry as my first cash game cornerstone. We've spoken about him. His track record here is excellent. He hasn't missed a cut here. He's had an 8th and a 24th in his last couple of events, the last 2 weeks. So the form looks pretty good. Give me Shane Lowry as my first cash game cornerstone. And if you guys are new to the show, here's the thing. My cash game cornerstones are meant for cash games, double ups, 50-50s, and possibly head-to-heads if you want. This is what I am playing these. Now, I play a lot of these guys in GPPs also, but this is mostly for the cash for those games. Now, again, if you like a play, play them in GPPs, but I don't necessarily worry about ownership at all when it comes to cash. So Shane Lowry is going to be my first cash game cornerstone. Next, it's going to be Nikolai Højgaard as my second cash game cornerstone. talked about him in the betting segment, of course. 6 top 25s in his last 8 events, including a couple of top 5s. He's been trending upwards, coming off of a 4th place his last time out. I really like Højgaard. He'll be my second cash game cornerstone. GPPs, I like Thorpe. I like Thorpe at $9,200. Now, his tee to green game is good. His off the tee game is really solid. His weakness has been his approach. He's sort of middle of the pack here in this field. But his best approach distances are 150 to 200 yards. And, he's been weak with the wedges, right? Not many wedges here, right? It's going to be a lot from 150 to 200. That's his best, one of his best areas. So even though his approach numbers aren't that great, his proximity numbers from the areas where, where we are worried about are pretty good. So I like that. And also his short game is like sneaky good, right? I mean, like first off, he's 3rd in bogey avoidance in the last 24 rounds. Doesn't make too many mistakes, right? 14th in sand save percentage in this field. 16th in strokes gained around the green in this field in the last 24 rounds. So I do like Thorpe a lot as a GPP play. This weekend, of course, I'm going to play Koepka.
Yeah, we've discussed why Brooksy is on your card there, Kenny. Solid stuff there. Thor also top 10 in the field in driving off the tee, strokes gained there, which can really help the dominoes fall in the right direction because that's the first shot you hit basically on every par 4 and par 5. So we'll see what he can get up to. Love the fact that there's a 3rd par 5 involved for him as well because he's ridiculously good on those kind of situations. So we'll see what he gets up to. I have no idea what Keith Mitchell's doing in the $9,300 range. I think the course history here is coming in pretty hard for him when it came to pricing him here because he's got 2 9th place finishes in the last 4 starts. The other 2 were outside the top 40. So you're getting a bit of that. He also has won this event before, but that was a long, long time ago, 2019-ish or something like that. So a lot of people keep glomming onto that. You're going to read Keith Mitchell. I don't necessarily think I'm going to be going to him. At $9,700, I'll be going to Ryan Gerard as well. I think, it makes too much sense to just leave him off the card. He's great form, all of that stuff we've already spoken about. Most of the guys in the top range here we've spoken about in the betting markets. So
Gerard, I will say, might be a fade for me. I know you like him, and he's number 1 in my model. Right?
Sure.
So the numbers say that, I should play him. But I know you said he finished, 48th and 25th the last 2 events. To have a run that he had and not get the win, it's hard to keep the run going, especially for a player who's not necessarily like an elite guy. Maybe he will be. Maybe he has the gumption to become one of these elite guys, but, he's not at that level yet. And so I don't really trust him to continue that, especially with the last couple of weeks on, more difficult courses, even though they didn't play difficult. You see his numbers go down a little bit. So that worries me, especially if he's going to be 30% owned, right? If he's going to be like 22 to 30% owned, I think he's a fade for me. But I understand why people like him. But like I said, he is number 1 in my model.
Yeah. And the thing is, we are doing this on a Monday night. I don't watch any content either before we do the show anyway, Kenny, mainly for the week. I'm just too busy to consume it because I can't focus on the information people are telling me when I'm busy. So it's just my information that I'm giving you out here. And what's interesting, Kenny Kim, is since the Truest in May of 2025, he gained 0.8 strokes on the field there, putting. He lost strokes putting all the way up to the end of the year. At the RSM Classic was the final tournament he played, lost strokes there. He's shown up. Sony Open, gained strokes. American Express, gained strokes. Farmers Insurance, gained strokes. Pebble Beach, gained strokes, and then he lost strokes last week at Riv on greens that were like a teenager's face. It was just rough, bouncing around everywhere. So it's good to see him putting well, which is typically something that we haven't seen from him. We've always recognized him as a complete flusher of the golf ball. We are starting to see the putter be a beneficiary to his game. It's not a handicap anymore, and it's exciting to see because you're going to have to make your putts. And as a result, you get that upside when you start making putts. And I'm assuming the Mauritius Open, he gained strokes putting to kind of finish second there. He could gain strokes ball striking enough to get there, but the putter gets you across the line nicely. So again, this is where chalk goes to die. It is what it is. You know, pick your guys, make sure that you're not getting too crazy and too cult followy stuff. Don't get caught up in that situation. $9,100, fifth in my model, Rasmus Nedergaard Peterson. Post-buy rookie bump, Kenny Kim, happens in the NFL. The guys get onto the NFL team and things just start going fast. They overload of information, new things, new weight rooms, new teammates, new outfits, new regimens, new diets. Then you get 2 signature events to just chill out for a little bit. Figure out your stuff, go to the East Coast, get accustomed to the conditions you're going to be playing out there. He's a fantastic, fantastic golfer, you know, based off his DP World Tour finish rates. And this year, he's still finishing inside the top 20, 50% of the time. He was ridiculously consistent on the DP World Tour. And you mentioned a lot of these Euros came over to this kind of a golf course. It's a venue that's kind of similar to the Euro courses that we find out there. A little shorter, a little more watery, risk-reward type situation. I think he's due to show us who he really is this week. Fifth in the model, $9,100. Half the time he's finishing inside the top 20. One of my favorite plays in the 9K range because there's a lot of very predominant course history names in this range that you can get off of if you go to RNP this week. In the 8s, Kenny Kim, where are you going over here?
Third cash game cornerstone is going to be Seabez, Zietenhout. He comes in 4th in my model for the week. Again, solid on par 5s. 15th in tee to green. Top 25 in approach. Top 25 from 150 to 200. And short game has been excellent, right? Also, number 1 in bogey avoidance in the last 24 rounds. 7th in sand saves. 2nd in around the green play. 9th in putting. Give me a little bit of Seabez as my third cash game cornerstone. I really like Thorbjorn Olesen. I like a lot of Euros. Again, like we've seen Euros do very, very well here. Like I said, it was where a lot of Euros started their season, and they picked this course for a reason. So I like Olesen. He's had some success here, not here, but you know, his recent form has been pretty decent. Tee to green, he's 5th in this field in the last 24 rounds. Top 10 in approach in the last 24 rounds. Top 15 in bogey avoidance. So I really like Thorbjorn Olesen. And I'm going to take a look at the 3 on the bottom. Meissner, Hautong, and McGreevy. I haven't made any decisions yet on those guys. Maybe you can go talk about it. I know you probably like a couple of those guys.
Sure. I'll go with Haotong Li, number 6 in the model. He's finishing inside the top 30, 55% of his starts, you know, since the beginning of 2025, including DP World Tour. We are also seeing him finish 8th at the Amex, 11th at the Farmers. We know that he's... And if you're just looking to have some fun doing this stuff, if you get invested in Haotong Li and watch a couple of his social media interviews and things like that, he's a phenomenal character. You know, he is so funny. He's Chinese and he's like, he does not give a shit. You know, like it's just so fun to watch him golf. He could blow up. He had a massive blow up at the Waste Management. He was, right, Kenny, you were on him there and he was cooking. And then just out of nowhere, just shot like a 43, you know, like it is what it is. So he's phenomenal to just get behind. He's pretty solid across the board. He's also one of the guys that starts off pretty hot. You know, you could potentially see him there. At $8,100 is very fair value. Max McGreevy, he's been playing fantastic golf the last little while. Top 30 at Pebble. Love the Waste Management Phoenix Open situation there. 27th at the Amex. 4th here last year. Max McGreevy, $8,200. You know, he's not a terrible option either. I think you can go there. Hit me with your names. Who else should I, Kenny? And then I'm going to hit you guys with my Statfish.
What are you talking about? In the 8K range?
Yep. Or are you done?
I'm done.
All right. Well, friends, it's time for this week's Statfish of the Week. The inaugural maiden fishing venture that we did not get caught out with last week was Sam Burns. And he missed the cut. It's not easy to cash a guy that was going to miss the cut in a cut that only cut 20 guys, but he was one of them. And it wasn't looking good early, but he kind of whittled away because the putter kind of fell apart. So that was good. Sam Burns checked no boxes last week. This person does not check any boxes either. He's $8,600. He doesn't check a single box. Remember those boxes: easy scoring, micro model, strokes gained over the last little while, course history, finish rates, and model ranking. 30th in the model. We are looking at someone that should be priced in DK ranking of 11th in the DraftKings pricing. So there's a significant discrepancy between this man's DK price and what I have him ranked in the model. We are looking at somebody that missed the cut here last year and has finished 47th at his best finish at this venue in the last little while. 3 starts this year, 99th at the Amex, he missed the cut, 43rd at the Farmers, 64th at the Waste Management. Hasn't been getting it up to speed. Davis Thompson, not going to be playing him. He's probably not going to be the most chalky option out there, but for those of you that might consider playing him at $8,600, he should be priced probably at 73, 75, somewhere down there, in my opinion. We'll see what Davis Thompson gets up to. It's been an eternity since his last top 10. That happened at the Players, which is happening in 2 weeks' time after this tournament. So by the time we get to the Players and he hasn't finished inside the top 10, he would have had no top 10s on the PGA Tour in the last year. And he hasn't necessarily been playing the greatest schedule either. He's been playing these kind of fields and not getting it done. So he's a name that I cashed an outright bet on at the John Deere a couple years ago, but since then it hasn't necessarily been the greatest. So don't get yourself caught out by the stats and the numbers on Davis Thompson at $8,600. He's this week's Statfish of the week. Don't get caught out with David Thompson. In the 7K range, Kenny Kim, where are we going?
7K, my final cash game cornerstone is going to be Sam Ryder at $7,300. Basically just going course history. The dude just doesn't miss a cut here, right? I think he's been here like 7 times. Hasn't missed a cut. Hasn't missed a cut in his first 2 events that he's played this season. Just going with that for one of my lowest price guys. So cash game cornerstones for this week is going to be Shane Lowry at $9,900, Nikolai Højgaard at $9,400, Christian Bezuidenhout at $8,700, Sam Ryder at $7,300. That leaves like $14,700. I have Sammy Valimaki in my cash lineup as well. My final spot, I'm not sure yet. Right now, I have Jesper Svensson in there in my final spot. But I do like, that's going to be my final cash game cornerstone. I like Sammy Valimaki. Talked about him during the betting segment. I'm a fan of his this week. But my hustler play of the week, Mike, play the music. It's going to be a guy who's been struggling. I do expect his ownership to be low. I do not think it's going to be high at all. It's going to be Rico Hoey. I think he's at $7,500. I think. $7,600 this week. He comes in with bad form, right? So ownership should be low. He killed it in the fall with weak fields, right? We are back in another weak field event for him. When it comes to less than driver courses, he's actually been excellent, gaining 1.12 strokes tee to green on the field in over 35 rounds on less than driver courses, right? We saw how talented he was in the fall. We're basically trying to get back. We're basically at like another fall type event with the field. I'm hoping for a bounce back. We know the skill level is there, right? In a place where he's not surrounded by Rorys, where he's not surrounded by Scotties, maybe he can get out there, and of course, where he doesn't have to have driver in his hand every hole, which I think he's normally a pretty good driver.
Phenomenal driver of the golf ball.
He was, but I mean, he's gaining 1.12 strokes tee to green in 35 rounds. That's average. In 35 rounds. In less than driver courses. So I'm willing to give him a look at low ownership this week in GPPs. Who do you like in the 7K range?
Yeah, I was in best ball. I was going Nico, 4-5 turn, and I was bullish on this guy because the ball striking you could almost rely on. It's been a problem this year. It's been really, really bad actually. So if he can bounce back at a venue that kind of forces him to dial in on his irons and things, I love where you're going there, Kenny. I want to double down on you with Sam Burns and tell people that you can play this man in the first round leader markets. Or
Burns? You said Sam Burns.
Sam Ryder. Sorry, my bad. Sam Ryder Dida. We're going to be looking at this guy in round 1 showdown as well. The reason why he makes so many cuts, Kenny Kim, round 1 gains 1.3 strokes on the field. Rounds 2, 3, and 4 doesn't gain more than 0.1. He's easily 1.2 strokes better than any of his best other rounds after a Thursday. So he gets off to hot starts. I think he's a definite first-round leader guy. He's got fantastic course history here. I love what's going on there. I'll be placing him in some showdown lineups for round 1. 2, as I mentioned, Chris Ventura. Love what we're getting from this man when it comes to the putting side of things. We spoke about him already when we bet on him. I think he also gets off to hot starts too, which typically helps you get to the weekend there. We want to also take a look at Sammy Valimaki. He's inside my top 10 in the model. $7,600. You know, he's 11th in the course fit, power ranking, fantastic. He gets Thursdays off to hot starts and finishes strong on a Sunday. Typically, played a lot of golf, and he's been playing solid golf on those big events. So love what he's getting up to. I think you can look at him. Garrick Higo is somebody that's very interesting to me as well. He should be playing much better golf than he is right now. Let's be honest here. He ended the last year with, I think, 4 or 5 consecutive top 5s to end the year, and then showed up here and missed a couple cuts in a row. So it hasn't been good, but he finished 60th at Pebble, which is better than 21 other people, at least, you know. So there's a bit of hope. And he's also got a 29th and a 16th at this golf course in the past. So he can get hot in the putter situation. He's a great guy on easy scoring conditions, is Gary Kigo. If we find that baseline returning to form, we can see what he gets up to. Another name I love in the 7K range is a more of a maniac play. He's not necessarily getting it done in the model that much, 77th in the model, but S.H. Kim. We've got a 13th at the Sony, an 18th at the Amex, 63rd at the Farmers, and a 54th at the Waste Management. So he's made all 4 cuts. He's a round 1 juggernaut. Cashed my Sports Illustrated first-round leader when I bet him, I think, at La Quinta or one of the courses he played out at the Amex. So he gets off to hot starts. It helps you make the weekend. Love that for him. He has played this course twice, and he's finished 63rd and 67th. He's a significantly better putter now. We can expect good things from him. I mentioned Gary Woodland. This guy, he's been putting very well. And his biggest bugaboo is around the greens. If we're going to be hitting, if he can hit 75 to 80% of greens this week, he's only going to be chipping 2 of every 10 approach shots afterwards. So he can lean on the putter that's actually been gaining him strokes on the field. He leads the tour in ball speed. 41-year-old Gary Woodland is out here happy, healthy, you know, after the brain injury stuff that he went through, all of that stuff. He's now back on tour. I think we can expect some big things from Gary Woodland over there. Love the micro models, got him 4th in the field. So that's something we're going to be definitely dealing with this week. John Parry, someone other name I would mention as we're getting out of here, along with some Jordan Smith, who I think could ball strike this place to death in the 7K.
I got a couple more. The Koreans at 7,400, both Kims, Doug and Tom. Yes, Doug's last name is Kim also. It's the same last name as mine, just spelled differently. In Korean, it's the same last name. I like both of those guys. Doug Kim. What we've seen from Doug is a regression in his iron play, but a progression in his short game, right? Is what we've seen from him. And so what I'm hoping is off the tee is always salt. So I'm hoping at some point in time that approach game gets back to where it was 2 years ago to go along with this much improved short game and putting. And it's going to happen out of the blue. I think you're not going to see it happen. Or if you are seeing it happen, everyone's going to be on, right? So this could be the time to jump on Doug early at single-digit ownership. Because like I said, the short game is really, really improving a lot, like real well.
That is.
But the approach is literally gone the total opposite of what he normally does. So at some point in time, he figures he's going to get that fixed. And that event, he's going to contend. So I like him. I might even bet him. We'll see if we can get some. I mean, I think I saw 50. I need like 80 or 90 or 100. If I can get that, I'll probably get him, and hopefully we'll see after live betting, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm definitely going to play him in DFS.
11th and 16th at this course the last 2 starts.
I didn't even know his course history here. So
So
there you go. Also, Tom, like I said, we've seen improvement from him. Tee to green here. He's making cuts. He's playing weekend. He's getting better. I think him will see more of improvement before he gets that next victory. I think it's not going to be like a Doug Kim situation where I think it's going to come out of the blue. I think we're going to see it. And I think we're starting to see the early steps of it. So I think he's worth a DFS look this week. Also, yes, for Svensson down here at $7,000. He comes 7th in my model. Tee to green, he's 3rd in his field in the last 24 rounds. Really good from 150 to 175, even from the rough. Around the green, top 25 in this field. And, of course, he's the best off the tee in this field in the last 24 rounds. So I do like Svensson at the low 7K range. What do you like in the 6s?
Andrew Putnam and Adrian Dumont de Chachart. I don't think I'll ever get that name correct unless I've had multiple beers.
Have like a sort of French accent at the end too. It was nice.
Yeah, so he's just being solid. I think across the board, he's sneaky when it comes to approach play. He's solid off the tee. We just need to find some putt luck, and I think if you hit enough green regulations, you can absolutely get that done. He's $6,800. Andrew Putnam, we've already spoken about what he can get up to for you in this range. Chandler Blanchet, if you take a look at what he gets up to, he's not necessarily one of the longer hitters on tour, and you don't typically get an opportunity to play a course that doesn't disadvantage you for having a lack of distance. He's 115th in the field in driving distance, but he's 20th in fairway percentage rates. Even though it's overseeded, it's still beneficial to be hitting from the fairway. You have way more control of your golf ball with all this water around. Hitting from the middle of the fairway is paramount. And he's 29th in the field in strokes gained approach for me. So, but the ball striking's there. If he can just figure out some putting luck, he's typically thrived on easy and medium courses on the Korn Ferry Tour as well. So the same goes for Neil Shipley, friends. I think he gained like 6 strokes ball striking before the weekend at the Waste Management, and he did play the weekend, but lost like 5 strokes putting those first 2 days, and then continued to just do that. So we know that Neil Shipley can make putts. We've seen him play at the John Deere Classic, things like that. So Neil Shipley absolutely gains 1.3 strokes in easy scoring conditions. Made the cut at the Waste Management, was his first. So maybe some good momentum. He's had a couple weeks off to get his stuff together. Let's see what he can do. And then I'm going to go with Hank Lebioda at $6,300. Look, when you're getting into the $6,300 range here in the Cognizant Classic, it's going to be warts. Okay. Just close your eyes, have a couple beverages if you're allowed, and pretend to see the good things from him. On the Korn Ferry Tour, finishing inside the top 40, top 20, 4 of every 10 starts. He was a regular there. Again, post-bye rookie bump. These KFT guys back on the PGA Tour for him. I'm expecting good things from him. He's one of my favorite like sneaky options down at the bottom, yeah. But that's about it for me. I don't think I like too many other guys.
Yeah.
What do you like in the 6s?
Like you. I like Lipsky. Iron game solid, short game really good. It's a course that, he doesn't have to hit driver every hole, so I think that's better for him. So I like Lipsky at $6,800. Adam Hadman at 67. We've talked about him. He's had an 8th place finish here before. A few weeks ago, he was 2nd on the Korn Ferry Tour. He's won in Florida. Give me a little bit of Adam Hadwin. Also Austin Smotherman from a numbers perspective, 15th tee to green in the field in the last 24, 3rd in approach in the last 24. Really good from 150 to 200. So he's another guy I'd look at in the 6K.
Finished 8th at the Amex, old Smotherman too. So we'll see what he can get up to for us this week at the Cognizant Classic. In the one and done field, Kenny Kim, I'm going to be going with Shane Lowry. Just going to eat it. This is the place that chalk goes to die. I'll do the people a favor and just munch him and mush him. I think hasn't missed a cut yet. Last 4 starts have been top 20. I'm not going to try and get cute. I don't know where else I'd play him. He's easily the best name in the field. He checks all 6 boxes for me. It's too good to be true. He's probably going to miss the cut, but if he doesn't, I expect him to kind of finish inside the top 5. So we'll see what Shane Lowry can get up to. What are you doing?
Lowry, Bez, Sammy Malinaki, somewhere for the Euros. The American one's going to be tough. The American one's going to be hard for me. I'm thinking maybe, I might even go Sam Ryder down here and just pray he makes the cut and finishes top 20. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. I have not picked an American yet, but it's definitely one of those 3 Europeans. I'll play. either in the Slider Cup or in the Mayo.
Yeah, and you are looking at the clubhouse leader so far of the Slider Cup. Are you still in the lead there, Kenny Kim?
Yeah, I'm still in the lead.
Yeah, so the man can't be divulging all the people. You know, if you come at the king, you're gonna read our DMs and stuff to know exactly what's going on in the one and done streets. Yeah, so have fun doing that because we don't really DM that much. Anyway, let's move along and end the show.
Unabomber.
What's that?
You look like the Unabomber.
Oh
You look
no,
like Kaczynski.
that's not good.
That's what you-
Well, maybe it is good. Let's just nuke this event. Let's absolutely just go crazy. Let's win the outrights. Let's get all the placements. Let's take it down with the one and done. Hopefully Shane finishes second for us. Winner, not an outright card. Let's go. I think we're cooking here this week. Go check out the Model Maniac Patreon, friends. I've got all my stuff there, all the models, all my bets as I make them. I have showdown content after every single round. The golf industry goes to sleep on a Thursday. I'm awake, grinding for you to give you exactly what you want. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. As the child's crying in the background, I don't care. I'm grinding out models and spreadsheets for you guys. So check it out. Use code COG26 for 50% off your first month over there. Love to see you in there. Don't forget to use code FGD when signing up at DraftKings, the title sponsor of the show. We really appreciate them for that. That's me for the week. Kenny Kim, get us out of here.
Find me on X at KendoVT. You'll get, my full betting card, any live ads. I mean, last week I posted the 10th hole birdie ladder on my X. There one. I also posted the Thitical win, Scottie top 10, which didn't win, but was a fun sweat at least. So make sure you follow me on X at KendoVT. I'm definitely going to have some live bets this weekend. So make sure you check that out. It should be a fun week. Shout out to my girls at Cheetah in Palm Beach. Love you all. Let's have ourselves a week and let's win some motherfucking money, Degen Nation.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort. Stacking penny stocks while I'm flipping these birds. Sipping on Ciroc, trip 'em up.